I'm Chris Rowan. I'm a pediatric occupational therapist, biologist, speaker, and author of the book Virtual Child, The Terrifying Truth About What Technology is Doing to Children. I want to speak regarding a recent blog post on Huffington Post where I'm requesting for a ban on handheld devices for children under the age of 12 and explain a little bit more about my 10 reasons for requesting this ban. It's important to understand a little bit more about infant, toddler, and child development in order to really grasp the gravity of the situation that we're placing our children in today with technology overuse. So I'd like to talk a little bit about that and also state that the Canadian Pediatric Society and American Academy of Pediatrics, who are our experts in the area of pediatrics and represent all the pediatricians in North America, has stated some time ago, over a decade ago, that children 0 to 2 years shouldn't be exposed to any technology at all, not even background TV. Kids 3 to 5, an hour a day, and kids 6 to 18, 2 hours a day. Now our children are exceeding that by leaps and bounds and are using 4 to 6 times the recommended amount. So, and we're also seeing a huge portion of our 0 to 2s being plugged into these devices. Fisher-Price just made a infant bucket seat called an Naptivity seat that has an iPad mount that positions an iPad literally like 6 inches away from an infant's face. There's also the iPotty, which is for toddlers to sit on and has an iPad mount. There's a teething ring that an iPhone or any sort of cell phone can be mounted in the middle of it, so the infants can watch whatever cartoons while they're teething. So it's the marketing of these devices is heavily geared toward a very uninformed parent population, and I'd like for those parents to please consider these reasoning and make informed choices when they're choosing to use these devices with their children. So back to development again. When little infants are born, their whole world and their goal in life is to establish a primary attachment with the parents. So from the moment they come out of the birth canal, that's their job. And they do that through connection, through an energetic way of being with the parents, and often facilitated with eye contact, with touch, with holding. And any of us who have had 2 children, I know I've had 2, we've spent hundreds of hours soothing our children, trying to get them to go to sleep, trying to get them to eat, but being present with our children. The device is replacing the parent to a large degree, and the infant is learning by watching the parent that this is what they should do, is they should look at the device. So whether they want to connect with the parent or not, they're being forced to attach to these devices. And in the absence of the parent and the parent's attention, children are attaching to devices. We now have 1 in 9 boys and 1 in 12 girls who have technology addictions. So this is the precursor for addictions, is this early exposure to the device in the place of the parent. Now, the other thing that's happening is in the ages of 0 to 2, the brain literally triples in size. And it's not through formation of new neurons, but it's through formation of connections between neurons. So they're born with a full complement of neurons, and then based on the environment that they're placed in, these connections form. Now, what's really optimal in a developing brain is to have connections to all areas of the brain. So to have these synaptic connections form not just in one area of the brain, but through all areas of the brain. So there's a tracking throughout the brain, and this creates a child who's well adjusted, can self-regulate, is not aggressive, can put themselves to sleep at night, and can socialize and eventually grow up to have relationships, have a job, and be able to function. So what's happening with this technology, a lot of it, probably 95% of it, is it's very stimulus response type based programs. So there's an action and a reaction and an action and a reaction. And that doesn't require the child to use the higher levels of the brain. It's very low brain function stimulus response. And so when we give a child a device, or an infant or a toddler, they're really not using their whole brain. We might look at it and think, oh my, they're learning something. But really they're pushing apps around on a screen. Maybe they're doing a little pre-reading or pre-spelling. But the large majority of it's entertainment, and it's not allowing the child to develop all areas of their brain. Now, project into the future, what we're seeing now with early studies is actual atrophy in areas of the frontal cortex. So that's the area of the brain with kids who overuse technology. So that's the area of the brain that is involved in memory, seeing the big picture. It's called our executive functioning area, and it's our main cognitive driver, the frontal cortex. It also controls impulses. It enables us to sequence information and organize information and recall information. So it's really highly involved in school and in education. Yet what's happening is that the whole education world has become enamored with these devices, and we're now seeing a flood of iPads and other forms of tablets that are invading the classroom, even right down to the kindergartners. So there's a number of issues with this, that having a device displaces the teacher, so to speak. So what we're talking about with these handhelds is they are in many ways replacing the parent and replacing the teacher as a primary attachment figure and a primary educator in that child's life. And this is causing some huge issues with children being able to learn. For the first time, Canada dropped out of the top 10 in the PISA, which is a worldwide literacy-based test that they give to 15-year-olds. The U.S. so the Canada is ranked 13th. The U.S. is ranked 27th on the world stage on the PISA. So if we think this stuff's working to educate our children, all we have to do is look at what's going on with literacy and see that it's not working. I mean, it's largely entertaining our kids. So there's also a big unknown out there with the radio frequency, electromagnetic frequency radiation these devices emit. And although our health authorities have deemed them safe, they're only looking at the heat emitting aspects of the device and not the electromagnetic radiation that's coming off the device. There's early studies now showing causal links to decreased sperm motility and decreased sperm DNA fragmentation, as well as acoustic tumors. So the American Academy of Pediatrics recently went forward to the Federal Trade Commission in October of 2013 and requested that they reinvestigate the electromagnetic radiation and radiofrequency radiation as possible carcinogens. So we don't really know, and we won't for some time yet, the true impact of these devices on our children, and yet we're moving forward and sticking them in front of little infants' faces, giving them to little toddlers. I know 3-year-olds I'm treating that have tech addictions who have their own iPad, and they're using it to game, and they're using it to do all kinds of things, access pornography. I mean, it would blow parents away if they knew what was going on. And so this is the issue with handhelds, is that the device is very difficult to control, to monitor as a parent. It's increased usage rates dramatically, and is just very unsafe. So again, I'm pleading with the general public, with teachers and schools, and with government to ban or significantly reduce the use of handheld devices for our young children. They are our future, and the virtual world, there is no future in the virtual world. Thank you very much for listening.